I know that common in these types of environments, like I played sports in college and it was the same thing half the time. Yeah, you'd go on the road for a weekend, but really a lot of the team would care more about the after parties than the actual like games or athletic competition element of being involved in a university sport. And when you're in that environment, how difficult is it, or is it difficult, or if it is difficult, how do you manage being the lone sober DJ on the set list, or are there a lot of guys that kind of put that in a box, treat it as their profession, take it seriously, and maybe they'll show up at the after parties, but they're not necessarily partaking in all the activities?
I mean, I don't really go around telling everyone that I'm sober. I'm just chilling. I mean, if I get offered a drink, I'll just say, nah, I'm good. And I've been lucky enough to find or come across guys who just like, okay, that's fine. They don't really peer
Yeah, most
pressure
people
me.
don't push, is
They
what
don't
I've
really
noticed.
at all. Like,
Yeah.
it's really cool to see that. Um, but honestly, I don't really do a whole lot of after parties anymore, just because I feel like after like the full like 9, 10 to like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning of like doing that the after party is the last thing I want to do. I just want to go sleep. So usually I just like, yeah, I peace out and I go home. And I've been again lucky enough to not run into too many people who like try to peer pressure you to like go to the after party or to like continue the whole thing. So it's just been like, yep, I'm good. I just show up, do my thing, I hang out for a little bit, go home and sleep, and that's it.
One last question that came to my mind.
Sure.
Aside from having a giant group of girls with you, what's the best way to get into an after party? Let's say like me and my dude roll out to a festival. It's in a state we've never been before. We don't really have a large social network. How do we get closer to getting into the after party type things? Usually we'll just roll out with some girls and that kind of helps, but it's hypothetical.
Girls usually helps. Yeah, girls usually helps. And then also just knowing the person who's either organizing it or hosting it, just getting close with them, getting to know them, connecting with them, and then bringing a ton of girls with you.
Josh, you just had a video on that, didn't you?
Yeah, which I'm like, the after party most recently was at my house, and I hosted some.
We were doing the after, yeah.
So
that works too.
I get a question too, just kind of going off of that because Jaren's making me think of some other stuff. So, what is like a secret or some type of misconception or like fun fact about the industry that you didn't know until you were actually out there performing?
This might sound a little messed up, but I'm gonna go for it anyway. It's not as organized as you think it is. It's very like a lot of times things are less professional than you think. Things are very much all over the place. And I didn't realize that until I started to really, get myself involved with other labels and start directly interacting with some of the industry people. Like kind of realizing, oh wait, like especially now that I'm also working at like a regular corporate job and kind of like seeing that difference between how they do things versus how a lot of people in nightlife kind of operate. And it's like, wow, this is like a very stark difference. Like in my corporate job, this would never ever happen. Like no one would ever tolerate this, so yeah, like it's cool, but then sometimes in terms of like things being a little more lax and less uptight, but sometimes it can create less than desirable results when it comes to getting things done. So just that level of laxness and lack of professionalism was definitely a surprise for me, for sure.
Why do you think that is? Because you think like there's so much money going around, like you want to be.
Well, that's. Yeah, I'll let Greg answer that.
It depends. Like sometimes,
Yeah,
like some spots they have a lot of money. Sometimes, like some spots they don't. Sometimes it's just kind of scraping by and help trying to get things to work out. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a mixture of that. I don't always think there's a lot of reputable people, to say the least, that work in this industry. So sometimes they tend to do less than desirable things. There's also a lot of like very passive aggressive people in this industry too. So sometimes, they won't necessarily be on the up and up with certain stuff. So yeah, that's definitely been a bit of a frustrating point. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a wide variety of things, honestly.
I imagine there's some ego in the music scene.
There's a lot of ego, which also ties into a lot of like the passive aggressiveness that you're running into.
Creative people in general, I'm kind of speaking for myself here, we can tend to go down that passive aggressive path because with creative people, it's like everything is in our own heads, right? Including the outside world. So it's hard to make that distinction sometimes that, okay, everyone else is having their own experience. That's way different from mine.
Yeah, where you end and they begin is what I like to call it.
Yeah, but speaking of the money, right? I would ask you, like, well, how shocked are people when you have to explain to them how the actual like finances of a breakout, what versus, because a lot of times they'll see, oh, you're performing with like this big name headliner, and it's like, yeah, what they actually pay out is like, it's shocking, like how little they actually pay.
Yeah, people think that I'm, living this luxurious lifestyle, and I'm like, living the high life. In reality, that's not the case at all. Like I still live very humble. And even like as you kind of like work from the top and go down, like there's not a lot of people in this industry that makes like, I don't think anyone even makes like six figures. Maybe like the top like 1% of that makes like a lot of money, and then towards like as you kind of get more towards like the middle class and like even like the lower class, it just drops off significantly. So yeah, I don't know like the exact specifics of like how much everyone else is making, but I can definitely tell you that a lot of people don't quit their actual day jobs while they're actually working in the industry as well. So they're working their regular job that funds like the industry job, but then even with the industry job, they're not really putting in that much time into it because they're not making a whole lot of money. So yeah.
Well, if you ever have questions, you can always DM me. I can tell you exactly, and I know what a lot of people are pulling on the. It's interesting.
I will keep that in mind.
You said there's a very sharp drop off with at a certain tier.
Yeah.